Good evening, and thank you for joining us for this special Faith Nation featuring stories around the world. From the CBN studio in Washington, I'm Tara Mergener. Well, on October 7th, Hamas targeted Israel's agriculture to go after their food supply. So a major organization in the Jewish state shifted gears to help the industry come back. And now farmers are planning to make the desert bloom again. Middle East correspondent Julie Stahl explains.
Nachal Oz sits less than a half mile from the Gaza border. On October 7th, Hamas terrorists killed 15 here, including the head of security, kidnapped 9, and also chose another major target.
Why they bothered to burn this tractor, this 1.5 million shekel worth of tractor? Why they bothered to burn all of our irrigation equipment? You don't have that much time because Israeli IDF will come.
Agriculture in the Negev is strategically important to Israel's food security. Some 70% of vegetables and 20% of fruit are grown here. That's why terrorists targeted the agriculture on October 7th.
They are trying to take the connection from us to our land, to our earth. And if you are not doing agriculture, then why stay here? Why live here? You can live near Tel Aviv.
Moran Freibach, head of agriculture at Kibbutz Nachal Oz, has lived here all of his life. Now he's looking forward to the next 5 years.
I see only the potential, and I see only work that I have to do in order to rebuild everything and to put everything back into place better. Not only back as it was, better. That's my mission.
Many say that agriculture is at a crisis level here in the area where many say God fulfilled his word to make the desert bloom. Estimates add up to $500 million in lost income, around 100,000 acres of agricultural land affected, and a labor force crisis for farmers who need some 30,000 workers.
Before October the 7th, our whole mission was to tackle global hunger with Israeli agricultural expertise. But on October the 7th, we understood that the agricultural crisis is also at home. And so we pivoted almost immediately.
That led Danielle Abraham of Volcani International Partnerships to initiate Project Regrow Israel.
We spoke to our partners in the field across the Western Negev, the farmers, the regional councils, and we said to them, what do you need? And these people had undergone massive trauma. And they said to me, Danielle, you have to understand, right now, we can't even think about the next hour, let alone the next week or months or years ahead.
That means Regrow Israel will focus on helping these communities think through their needs, plan to build a better future, and raise money for areas hit the hardest.
The foreign workers that were living here, they were targeted in their beds while they were sleeping.
In Kibbutz Alomim, 22 Thai and Nepalese workers were murdered and 2 taken hostage. Since then, 1 has been released. Established in 1966, Kibbutz Alomim's main income is agriculture, with hundreds of acres of fruit and avocado orchards, plus a large dairy. Terrorists shot holes in the milk tank, ruining it, burned storehouses of food, and delayed the milking of cows for days, leading to a huge drop in productivity. Then there's the irrigation equipment.
We're farming in the Western Negev. It's a semi-arid area. We're farming on the edge of the desert. Everybody knows that the issue of water, Israel is a leader in water use efficiency for agriculture. So the water infrastructure is at the heart of the agricultural economy. This is where the pipes for the irrigation are wrapped around. They're rubber. Every single one of them was set on fire.
In this place, irrigation equipment for the potato crop is now destroyed, as are numerous greenhouses and chicken coops. As Israel's largest pepper grower, Alomim had to leave fields of peppers unharvested. Back at the border of Nachal Oz, Moran says they rebuilt their water reservoir destroyed by Hamas and planted wheat.
We are doing agriculture until the last meter, even now when we are at zone. We are standing right now in a war zone. This is why you see a tank right there.
Abraham says the farmers are heroes in Israel's story.
Some of the heroes in our society that are going out under fire with a view to the future, with all of their tractors stolen and burned, and sowing wheat in the fields.
She has great hope for the future.
And then my dream is that on this area, which is where Israel made the desert bloom, we will be able to make it bloom once again. They will see the farmers growing back stronger with automation across the dairy and the greenhouses and the packing houses. I want us to see new innovations for climate-resilient agriculture that the world can come here and learn from. I want to see the new generation coming into farming in Israel.
Julie Stahl, CBN News, Kibbutz Nachal Oz and Kibbutz Alumim.
In the face of war, people are braving artillery fire to help those in need. Up next, CBN News takes us to the Ukrainian city of Kherson. We'll be right back. In recent weeks, Russia has stepped up its war on Ukraine. Putin's forces are trying to grab more land before American weapons arrive to bolster Ukraine's defenses. The most intense fighting is around the southern city of Kherson. George Thomas brings us this first-hand report of a brave group of Christians who are bringing aid and comfort to those trapped by war.
This is my friend Vitaly. We are running, trying to escape from the drone. He was hit.
On an isolated road north of Ukraine's frontline battle with Russian forces here in Kherson, CBN News joined a convoy of cars bringing urgent aid to villagers trapped by fighting as a Russian drone narrowly misses the lead car carrying Pastor Vitaly. Moving forward, we see the damage. All 4 tires ripped to shreds, windows shattered, and shrapnel throughout the car. Fortunately, Pastor Vitaly and the others are miraculously unharmed. They drive a few more miles down the road to make sure they are out of drone range.
This is how things look like in Kherson. But since the life is saved, God protected all the vehicle, that's piece of cake. That's our neighbor. She was killed in that house. By the way, and
this was your neighbor, she died here?
Yes, yes. A lady, elderly lady, she died here. And all the buildings are damaged. And there are people, and they are already waiting for us.
Our guide, Yevgeny Bondarenko, fully understands the risks involved in a war zone. He serves with Mission Eurasia, a Christian organization that's been ministering here since war started in 2022. Bondarenko is from Kherson. Multiple times a day, artillery and mortar fire rain down on the city as both sides defend their positions. What you're seeing there is a tributary that leads to the Dnieper River. The Dnieper River, in essence, divides the city of Kherson into 2. The left bank, behind me, is controlled by the Ukrainians. The right bank is controlled by the Russians. There is less than 3 miles that separates the 2 armies. 85% of Kherson residents fled more than 2 years ago. Bondarenko stayed back to bring aid and comfort to those remaining. On this day, as Russian forces launched mortars toward Ukrainian positions, CBN News witnessed Bondarenko and a fellow pastor move quickly as explosions go off nearby to distribute supplies to dozens of residents trapped between the 2 armies. Olena, darting out of her home, still wearing her nightgown, holds her young son tight and waits in line.
This is our home. Yes, of course we're scared. But where else can we go? War is everywhere. At least we don't feel abandoned today, that someone has come with aid and cares for us.
Bondarenko takes time at the end to share a word of encouragement from the Bible and leads the group in prayer for safety. Neighborhood resident Anastasia is touched by the ministry time.
I realize my confidence and boldness must come from the Bible. God says to rely on Him and He will not abandon us.
That promise brought Svetlana Harakatova and a team of Mission Eurasia medical volunteers to this village not far from the front lines. 5 doctors, a cardiologist, urologist, family doctor, and ophthalmologist volunteer around the clock, caring for folks who haven't seen a specialist in months.
We've been traveling to the war zone areas for some time now because these places don't have functioning medical facilities, or there isn't one that's easily accessible because of the ongoing conflict.
About a year ago, Mission Eurasia decided that the only way to reach some of these hardest hit regions, especially those areas that are in the conflict zone, was to use a mobile clinic. And so today they travel extensively throughout the east as well as the southern parts of Ukraine.
In the south and east of Ukraine, the medical logistics is difficult, complicated, or destroyed, so people cannot get to a large city with a hospital. So that's why the medical mobile clinics comes to them.
In addition to medical outreach, Mission Eurasia partners with several Christian organizations to train more than 1,000 volunteers to provide counseling in these times of war.
There are so many people who need help, not only medical help, but also psychological help. So that's why every mobile clinic outreach includes professionals who can assist with trauma care.
Whether it's delivering wood stoves to families in areas with damaged electrical grids, to printing more than 2 million copies of the Bible, or providing food to war victims, Horenkov, Bondarenko, and the Mission Eurasia volunteers have a singular mission: rebuild their war-torn nation while sharing the love of Christ.
What we are doing here is fulfilling Christ's commandments, and it is obvious that people see that those who help them are connected to the church, so they are more open to the gospel, and they are more open to becoming part of a church community.
George Thomas, CBN News, Kherson, Ukraine.
Welcome back. Many consider China the greatest foreign threat. However, Beijing's rulers are facing internal threats no one is talking about. Dale Hurd explains why some are calling last year the Great Fall of China and how the second half of 2024 could be worse.
The Chinese call it a tofu dreg project, or buildings made out of tofu. It means a badly constructed building or shoddy workmanship, and there are examples of it all over social media. Tofu dreg projects could also be a symbol of China today. It might look impressive on the outside, but underneath, it's falling apart. Experts told us that this would be the Chinese century. However, Xi Jinping's China dream is dying, thanks to a series of setbacks on almost every front.
2023 was a bad year for the Chinese government in just about every way, and 2024 does not promise to be much better.
Last year was China's worst economically since 1976. A study that the government tried to suppress found that almost 1 billion Chinese may be living in poverty.
There are a lot of things that are going wrong that are fixable, but fundamentally there are more things going wrong that aren't fixable.
Josh Birnbaum at the Foundation for Defense of Democracy says international businesses and capital are continuing to flee China because staying has become too risky.
Companies are increasingly seeing the writing on the wall in China. The environment is no longer conducive to open business, going from $100 billion in foreign direct investment to negative $11 billion over the last 7 quarters is just remarkable.
Youth unemployment is so high the government has stopped reporting it. Increasing numbers of youth have given up on the future and are lying flat, which means to be unemployed and unmarried, basically dropping out. China expert Gordon Chang.
China is right now in a state of turmoil. There's a sense of gloom which has pervaded Chinese society. People are saying, this society no longer is what I want to live in.
China's demographics are in free fall. Last year, for the first time since the 1960s, more Chinese died than were born. By 2040, China is expected to have more elderly than the entire U.S. population, 400 million.
You're having a revolution among young women who are turning their backs on society. And so they're saying, look, I'm not getting married, I'm not having kids, I'm just opting out.
China's stock markets lost more than $6 trillion in value in 3 years. China's construction and real estate sector is continuing to crater. On the foreign policy front, China's attempt to intimidate Taiwan before the recent presidential election backfired. Beijing had ramped up incursions into Taiwan's airspace and even launched a missile with a satellite toward Taiwan right before Election Day. The Taiwanese people responded by electing a new president firmly opposed to reunification with the mainland.
And this means that Taiwan is moving away from China.
Purges in the party leadership and the military suggest Xi fears opposition. Chang believes Xi's only way out is to win a big war. Birnbaum says without a massive political pivot, China faces a grim future.
I would think that in the short term, in the next 2 to 4 years, they will muddle, and after that, they will implode.
Kind of like pieces of Chinese building materials. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
Closing doors on Christians. Up next, a report highlighting the horrors of religious persecution around the world. And finally tonight, quoting scripture, sharing a story about coming out of a sinful lifestyle, even protesting progressive culture with silent prayers. In Europe, some Christians are facing jail for expressing their faith. And as CBN's Billy Hollowell explains, some are expressing concern similar persecution could soon cross the Atlantic.
Religious liberty battles spreading across Europe and beyond are sparking fears about if and when these same struggles could come to America. In Finland, a member of parliament is one of the more prominent people on trial for her religious views.
It was 4 years ago, in June 2019, when I posted a Twitter post and also to Facebook. And it was about the Pride event that was going on, and that the main church, the Evangelical Lutheran Church, decided to support it officially. And it was a shock to me.
In questioning the church's support, Paavi Räsänen shared a verse from the book of Romans about same-sex relationships and quickly found herself in a legal battle.
Some citizen made a criminal complaint about this Twitter update, and then police started to investigate the case. And after it came into public, then there became more and more criminal complaints about one radio program. And then there was an old pamphlet I had written already 2004 about marital and sexual issues.
While unanimously acquitted of charges last year, prosecutors appealed Räsänen's case, leading to a second trial.
The maximum punishment is 2 years jail or fine. But of course, in Finland, we have in our constitution, we have the freedom of speech and freedom of religion.
Unfortunately, this struggle goes beyond Finland. On the Mediterranean island of Malta, Matthew Gresh, an ex-LGBT activist, faces potential prison time after sharing his testimony of leaving a gay lifestyle to follow Christ.
Last year, I was invited to share my story on a program and answer questions about so-called conversion practices. And I mentioned an organization as well that supports men and women who leave LGBT, and an organization that promotes biblical sexuality.
Within days, numerous people reported to police that Gresh violated Chapter 567 of Maltese law, which bans advertising conversion therapy.
I had to go to the police, and I exercised my right to be silent, and the police pressed charges against me.
Gresh says the potential ramifications could be sweeping.
If I'm found guilty, I could spend 5 months in jail, or I could pay a fine of up to 5,000 euros in Malta just for really exercising my freedom to be a Christian and to support others who want to move away from unwanted LGBT identities or desires, etc.
And Andrea Williams with Christian Concern points out how in the UK, abortion clinic buffer zones basically prevent people from assembling, counseling, and even silently praying outside those facilities.
And I think it's very hard for nations in the West, for nations such as America and Great Britain, to imagine really that we've reached this far, apart from we have. So I think that those that are watching this will think, really, has Great Britain created a space where you are unable to speak quietly, unable even to pray, unable even to walk alongside a woman to explain another way.
Consider what happened to UK Army veteran Adam Smith Connor. Last November, officers began questioning him for silently praying outside of a clinic for his own son who had been aborted.
So they informed me that they considered that my praying for my deceased son was a breach of the PSPO, that it was an act of disapproval of abortion, although I wasn't manifesting that prayer in any way. And if I hadn't told them, they would have had no way of knowing what I was praying about. It was a silent prayer in my mind.
Williams says if Americans don't pay attention, these laws could make their way across the Atlantic.
I would like to warn those of you in America to ensure that these initially civil measures that get placed in and around certain buildings, so in and around abortion clinics, then take on a quasi-criminal force. There's also the political pressure that's applied around them.
These examples beg the question, could the criminalization of Christianity come to the U.S.? Jeremy Dice, senior counsel of First Liberty, says there's no easy answer.
I really hope that that risk is low, but I can't say that it is zero because there's always forces that want to restrict our religious liberty for reasons I don't quite understand.
Dice says the litany of cases prove the fight for religious liberty battles is ongoing and often takes years.
The reality is that people of faith are facing a constant barrage of religious attacks, questions about their faith and whether they're welcomed in the workplace or the public square.
In the end, Dice says stopping the chaos seen in Malta, the UK, and other nations from reaching the US depends on Americans' commitment to freedom.
I'm grateful that we have a First Amendment. We have got other laws in place that protect our religious freedom, but it falls to you and I to make sure we're maintaining our vigilance to preserve these freedoms going forward for our next generations.
And Americans don't need law degrees to play a role in protecting these freedoms. Prayer, staying informed, and exercising the right to vote are all powerful tools that don't cost anything but time. Billy Hollowell, CBN News.
And that's going to do it for Faith Nation. Have a great night.